Welcome back to Stories with me, Spongebob SquarePants. And today we're once again rolling out into the crime-infested streets over at Reddit/talesfromthesquadcar. Let me know what you think of these stories in the comments, as well as any suggestions you might have that we may just use in a future installment. Assume the position and prepare to be patted down, cause we're getting started now. Our first story is titled, Don't Trust a Fart While Working a Rollover Crash. I shared this story with my friends, and I was told I had to share it here. I'm a veteran officer at a small agency in the southern U.S. Last fall, I was dispatched to a single-vehicle rollover with entrapment. Turns out, there were no injuries, and the driver just needed help climbing out as the car was on its side. While gathering the information needed to do the report, I felt a fart brewing. Being that I was around other people and couldn't sneak away, I tried to let it out quietly, only to discover that it wasn't a fart. I looked at the other officer on scene with wide eyes and said, "I gotta go!" I quickly turned the scene over to him, and I waddled back to the patrol vehicle, sat on one ass cheek, and hauled ass to the PD to assess the damage. Once I got to the PD, I stripped off all my gear with haste as I hurried into the bathroom. Once I sat on the toilet, a torrent of the foulest-smelling Hershey squirts erupted from my ass like a volcano. I then looked in my pants and saw the liquid in my boxers. I thought, no big deal. I'll just have to freeball the rest of the night. When I moved my boxers to check my uniform pants, I discovered the juices of injustice had soaked through the pants. So, I did the only logical thing a man in my predicament could do. I called the chief whilst the volcano was still erupting with the force of a small nuclear bomb. When he answered, I said, "Chief, I done myself. I'm going home." The next 5 words spoken were almost angelic. He said,
"All right, go to the house."
I sighed with relief and ended the call. Once Mount St. Helen was done emptying my insides, I pulled my stained pants back up, got a black garbage bag to cover the seat in my personal vehicle — we don't have take-home vehicles — and went home to shower and contemplate my decision-making skills. Oh boy! This kind of unfortunate mishap has never quite happened to me before, but I can relate. I've had to change my starfish friend's undies all the time, since he just can't seem to do it himself. The guy says it's because he doesn't have fingers, but I honestly think the problem is more deeply rooted than that. Why do I allow myself to fall victim into these kinds of horrific situations? Please tell me! I'm begging you! Moving on, our next story is called The Dog, the Dildo, and the Stripper. Oh God, no! This happened about a year ago and is one of my favorite stories from on the job. I was working for a city and was dispatched to a PC-242 battery in California. I read the CAD, which stated, "Female was hit by a dildo. Suspect still on scene. Female will flag down outside the residence." The house was on the very border of my jurisdiction and the county jurisdiction, so we called out the county in case it was their call. Needless to say, by the time we arrived on the scene, there were still 30 out. So we arrive on the scene and were flagged down by the victim. The victim provided backstory by saying she was a Las Vegas stripper, but resided in the residence with another Las Vegas stripper. Victim stated her roommate's boyfriend threw a dildo at her from across the room. The dildo hit her, no visible injury, and she called the police. The house was in a canyon in a rural area and was tucked away so it was hard to access and hard to see inside. The victim stated the boyfriend, now referred to as Bob, owns an AR-15 rifle and was agitated. We approach the house and give commands for the occupants to exit. As soon as we call to them, the world's most vicious-sounding dog starts barking. To be clear, I never actually saw the dog, but I knew it had to be the bigger brother of Cerberus. So Bob and his girlfriend Linda come out of the house and they are searched and detained. Upon further questioning, we find that there was a minor fight in the house earlier over whatever drama. We enter the house for evidence, and dear God, why? I've been in dirty houses, but my God, it was a basic one-story residence with 3 main rooms and a few bathrooms, but covered in filth. There were piles of dishes and trash lining every room. The house smelled like rotten mold with a dank and musty humidity. Beer cans and bottles were on every surface, adding to the unpleasant odors. We go into the bathroom, and on the king bed was a big, black, at least 9-inch suction cup dildo. Photographs were taken. Sorry I can't share them. We decide to find Bob's AR-15 and he tells us it's in the closet 2 rooms over. Meanwhile, Cerberus's big brother is going berserk. And we hear crunching wood as if the dog is about to break free of the closet it's housed in. We walk into the next room. It's a gigantic room, at least 20 by 30, containing nothing but one single extra-large dog bed and at least 50 piles of dog shit. The dog scattered everywhere about the room, and the AR-15 was in a closet on the other side. So we walked around the room, basically hugging the wall until we got to the closet. No surprise, the closet was filled with garbage and an AR-15 airsoft gun. It wasn't even a real f***ing gun! We end up finding out the house was just outside the city's jurisdiction, and county had to take the paper. The victim, however, decided she didn't want to explain the story again, so she decided not to press charges. I had to scrub my boots to shit and be in that place all for nothing. F***ing strippers. Moral of the story: figure out it's not your problem before you deal with it. Why, oh why does Jesse make me read these stories? It hasn't exactly helped him so far. He's a big meanie, and his 39 subscribers don't justify this kind of abuse. I'm sure you're getting a kick out of this one, Bonnie Scott, but one of these days I'm gonna clobber him where the sun don't shine. Dildos? I know I live in a place called Bikini Bottom, but even we have standards. Is this kind of trash actually entertaining to you people? Better let us know in the comments or else I have better things to do. Our final story is titled, "The Day I Learned There's What's Right and What You're Supposed to Do, and It's Not Always the Same Thing." I was a rookie cop at the time about 10 years ago. We were called out to get a statement from a father saying his 17-year-old boy ran away. It's a Tuesday at 10:30 in the afternoon. We roll up to question the father and get some details to start tracking down his boy. The father smelled of alcohol and was visibly drunk. The father also had a pretty aggressive tone with us. Anyways, we took the boy's details and called up some of his friends. I was there more for observation as I let the more experienced partner handle the details. One friend told us last he heard the boy was staying with another friend. They gave us an address, so we headed on over. We knocked on the door. We asked if the boy was at the residence he was. We asked to speak to the boy. After speaking to him, he told us he had just graduated high school and decided he was going to run away because he was tired of his father beating on him and constant drinking. He had a couple bruises on him. I believed his story. His father smelled of alcohol and had an aggressive tone with us. Plus, the boy did have some battle scars that appeared to be abuse. We asked if the adults of the household were in. He said his friend's mom was at the house. We asked if we could speak to her. The friend's mom basically confirmed what the boy had told us. Ever since his mom passed away a few years ago, his dad had been drinking. He would sometimes get upset at the boy and beat him up. It wasn't uncommon for the boy to end up at their house. But this last time, they decided since he had just finished high school and he planned to join the Air Force when he turned 18, he could stay with them. The mom begged us not to send it back to his dad. The mom told us they had a spare bedroom he was staying in, and that his son was sharing clothes, and they were planning on going shopping to get him more necessities, and they were more than happy to give him a safe place to stay for as long as he needed. We asked to speak to the boy. He was set to turn 18 in 4 months and was planning on joining the Air Force. He seemed like a well-behaved kid, claimed he had good grades, and was already in talks with a recruiter. Said he'd already join if his dad would sign the paperwork, but his dad refused. The kid talked about how much more peaceful it is living with his friend, and how he would refuse to return to his dad. He even told us if we tried to take him back, he'd put up a fight. He was crying. You could tell the thought of going back to his dad scared him to death. I was praying my partner would let this boy stay. My partner told him to get the mother again. We wanted to speak to her one more time. My partner told the mother as long as she was fine with keeping him, he saw no need to take the boy back to his father and that we would be leaving. The mother thanked us and we got back to the car. I asked my partner, "So what are we going to do?" My partner said,
"We aren't going to do a damn thing.
I go, "What do you mean?" He said,
"The boy is safe. His father is an obvious alcoholic. The boy will be 18 in a few months and has a good shoulder on his head. I'm going to leave this one be."
I asked, "Don't we have to report this?" My partner said,
"I'll take care of that. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't know anything."
I was curious on his take, and he said to me,
"You're going to learn that sometimes you have a choice. You can do what you're supposed to do, or you can do what is right. And sometimes they ain't the same thing. And this is one of those times, and I'm going to do what I think is right."
And we pulled out of the driveway and left. My partner explained to me it's not illegal for a 17-year-old to run away, but if we report it, the parents of the friend could get in trouble since they are keeping a runaway under their roof. If reported, it's unlikely the boy would be forced to go back to his dad. However, there's a chance the mom could get in trouble. His concern was for the safety of the boy, not necessarily having the boy stay with his dad, who is likely being abusive. And in his eyes, the boy was perfectly safe. I always remember that call, and I remember that boy's name. He had a unique last name. We also live in an Air Force town. Very recently, I pulled over an airman for speeding near the base. I asked for the driver's license, and as I was going over everything, I noticed his last name. I asked him if he was that young boy from 10 years ago. He said it was him, and I told him I was one of the cops that he talked to that day. He started crying. He asked me if I could give him a hug. We were in a parking lot. I said sure, and there I stood hugging this guy as he was thanking me for not sending him back to his dad. I did explain it was my partner's call not to do anything about it. Apparently the boy stayed true to his word, said the day on his 18th birthday he walked into that recruiter's office and enlisted. He told me that he had a wife and a boy of his own, and that he always appreciated us for not making him go back to his dad and hoped that one day he'd get to thank us. I gave him a warning for the speeding ticket. He laughed and said,
This is the second break you're giving me. Will I get a third?
And I said, chances are pretty low for a third break. He laughed and said, all right, and left. Now that's the kind of emotional story I like to read. I know that not everyone respects our officers in law enforcement, but they have to make difficult judgment calls every day, and that makes my heart super happy that the officers followed their hearts and honestly cared about the best interests of the boy. Those other stories, on the other hand, were pretty disturbing, so let me know in the comments if they make you laugh or simply gross you out. Anyways, that's about all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for tuning in with me, Spongebob SquarePants. What did you think about these stories? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and check out what other stories I have for you. Stay safe out there, and take care of your loved ones. Jesse owes me a pedicure for my efforts, so I'll leave you to imagine him painting my toenails and scraping off my calluses. I'll catch you guys in the next one.